So, yeah, welcome. Welcome back, family. It's interesting and nice and wonderful to have all of us who have been here before and have this many of us who have been here before. That's pretty cool. All right, I have to do it. I've been trying to not do it.
We're family.
There we go. We're family, right? Who cares? Take off your shoes, let down your hair, and get ready. So, yeah. So last week, we started a discussion that had to do with perception and with where our perceptions come from, with particularly where our misperceptions about life come from. That was retelling the story. So this week we are back. This is chapter 2, retelling the story 2, and today is also about perception. Okay. Last week we talked about perception and misperceptions, and that oftentimes those come from our early experiences or our past histories, our lives, the things, the experiences that we create, that we have, that affect us, that change us, that mold us. We are definitely moldable beings, aren't we? Not moldy. We're moldable beings, aren't we? Yeah. So that those things have a tremendous impact on us. Let's see here. We even talked, I knew there was something fun I was missing, we even talked about the possibility of writing down our life story. Now I have to just ask, if you did that, if you went out of here last Sunday and started writing your life story, put your hand in the air. No, I can't put mine up because I didn't do that. So, but I know some of you have done that. And what I want to tell you is that that is an amazing, powerful, therapeutic process. Maybe we'll do a class on it someday. Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh, Cherie, you should see the look I'm getting. Okay, yeah, now we will do a class on it. That's great, all right. But, you know, we talked about how, again, the things that we have experienced really affect us. This week we're going to talk take a little bit different tactic about where our misperceptions come from and how things are formed. We're going to look at what has been called in some circles the collective unconscious. Do you know that term? Are you familiar with that term? Some folks I know have heard that term. That is a phrase that was coined originally by Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist. And he basically was talking about this thing that is a repository for everything. And we can separate that into two words. Everything. Every thought, every vibration, every belief, every feeling. And not just what you've had, but from the time of the beginning of the existence of humankind all the way down through the eons into this place that we call now, if there really is such a thing called time, it really is such a thing called now. Sometimes it seems like there is, and other times it's like, this just can't be real, or doesn't it? Yeah, it's pretty wild. But that collective unconscious, or collective consciousness, is, again, it's just the home of everything. And so you think about it, that's pretty powerful stuff. Because the truth is we're all swimming in that. Now in Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes heard that, he recognized that, and he called it a little different term. He called it race consciousness. Come on in and join us. He called it race consciousness. And when I first heard that term, I was a little concerned by it because by that time I had been going to a Science of Mind church for a while and I really loved it. I had actually gotten past, I started going to classes. I wouldn't go on Sunday mornings. And I got over that and started going on Sunday mornings and really liking it. And then I heard the minister get up one morning and she talked about race consciousness. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to go somewhere else. There's no wonder there's no African American people here in this church. Well, I don't know why that was the case, and there are African American people there. I just didn't notice them, they're not too many. But they have strong spiritual communities of their own, I think, sometimes. But it didn't have to do with race at all. It had to do with the consciousness of the species. That's what Ernest was talking about. But think about this, guys. When you think about race consciousness, what happens when you go, if you go out Christmas shopping and you say you get in your car and you drive to Asheville and you go to the Asheville Mall, when you walk in that mall, what do you feel? You feel it, don't you? You feel the consciousness of the people in that building. You feel their enthusiasm, depending on how close it is to Christmas and how shy people are of what they want to get before that hallowed day. You might feel the mania, right? Mm-hmm. You also feel this. I have a friend who just buried a family member this weekend, and was talking to her this yesterday, and she said, you know, I was okay till I got to the room, at the visitation there, and when I got to the doorway of the room, the energy field just hit me, and I started to really feel my grief. You know, so those emotions, that stuff, that thought atmosphere, that race consciousness is really like a tangible thing, isn't it? I mean, we are sensate beings. We can see, we can hear, we can touch, we can taste, we smell. But then there's something bigger than that, where we tap into an awareness of other people's energy. Have you ever walked into a room and you just looked at somebody and automatically knew they were upset? And it couldn't have been body language. They didn't even turn towards you. You didn't see their face or hear something, you know, hear them say something that indicated that they were concerned or had some kind of upset going on. You just picked up on it. So there's kind of that thought field, that energy field between us, and it's going on all the time. And it's extremely receptive to everything. That's why we teach in this movement, be careful of what you think, be careful, be conscious of what you're saying and what you're feeling. And we all have feelings. Some of them we might coin good, some of them are bad. We know they really can't be bad. Some of them are not pleasant. But if they're not pleasant, then let's work with them. Rather than shunning them or running from them, let's pick them up and run, you know, and work with them and move them. Let's change that stuff so that it's not contributing to kind of a negative mass. And when I think about race consciousness, I think about if we were all, after the service, to jump in the car together and go to some place like Ryan's, where they have a food buffet. And you know, I know you've all probably eaten in a place like that. You walk up, you get your plate. Marty's smiling. I like food. Maybe she does too. Okay, you get your plate. You go to the bar. I try to behave. I go to the salad bar first, but I'm really doing this, looking at the dessert bar. You know, okay, going. What, do they have that German chocolate cake stuff that I really like? They started doing weird things to it, so I got mad and quit going to Ryan's and haven't been back in like 5 years. At any rate, race consciousness is like going to a food bar. Only instead of picking up a clean, you know, nice shiny plate and going, oh, do I want some of this? What's that? What we do is we take a plate, and that plate is already heaped with stuff. Now, if we went down there and say somebody got up for somebody else and went and filled up a plate and took it to them, what would your response be if somebody brought you a plate of food, didn't really consult you first? I don't eat that. What is that? I'm like that, okay? I'm like, that's not on my diet, okay? Where's the chocolate cake? Let me get the chocolate cake. Let's have the dessert first, right? But race consciousness is like that. It's as if we're walking around, and like it or not, conscious of it or not, we are living from the lens of someone else's glasses. We are eating the foods from someone else's plate. We are carrying out their belief system, and it might not even be ours. Have you ever, I hope I'm really not the only one in the room who's like found herself doing something and gone, what am I doing? Why is my body over here doing this? Did anybody? Yeah, Cherie's got a hand up. I feel better now. I know I'm not alone. So, Ernest Holmes told us this about race consciousness. I found it. The tendency to reproduce what the race has thought and experienced is called race consciousness. This race suggestion is a prolific source of dis-ease. Yeah. When I was thinking about this, I was thinking about how, in family systems, we will say, oh, this runs in my family. Or, this condition, this medical thing runs in my family. Well, one of my minister friends that I deeply respect says, you ain't got no genes but God's genes. Get over that business. What you have is the mindset, the mental, it's almost an entrapment that you, I like it or not, bought into when you came into your family. Okay? Yeah, it's pretty powerful. Now, some folks you can't say that to at all. And maybe with some of you, I'm skating around on thin ice. So let's back up here. If that doesn't feel like you like it, I love you. Okay? That's okay. It's okay, isn't it? So, yeah. Raised consciousness supports us in having tunnel vision, in doing things like either or, black, white, yes, no, good, bad. Dale's going to be here this afternoon, and I know a lot of you were here when he came before. Remember that he tells us in Aramaic, good and bad just means simply good is the fruit is ready to be picked and eaten. Bad is it's green. Leave it on the tree. It's not ready. Okay? So, but race consciousness calls us to develop a very thin lens through which we see things. Okay? Yeah. It's very, very interesting. We narrow and narrow and narrow and narrow. And, you know, then we get to a point where it's like, ouch, this hurts. I got to get away from this. Well, how do we get out of this thing? You know, how do we get out of this thing? Really, if you look at your life, and again, here's another ping for sitting down and looking at the experiences that you have had throughout life and seeing how they have panned out, how they have served you, finding out what you can learn from them. As you look at your life, what you see is those things that have been uncomfortable, where the rubber has met the road, have created kind of a friction. And it is that very friction that causes us to look at the things we believe and get a little closer to the truth, or not. Okay? It's kind of a double-edged sword. There's a kid's story that I love that reminds me of this a lot. And I don't know if any of you can think of what it might be. I'm giving you a clue. Anybody know? Okay. It's the Velveteen Rabbit. Do you remember that story? Anybody remember that story from years and years and years ago? I remembered it. And it's so interesting how things attach themselves to our consciousness. You know, as soon as this came into my mind, this whole idea of somehow incorporating this into this talk this morning, the feeling that I had was just this wonderful, warm, fuzzy feeling. Now, I don't think anybody ever read The Velveteen Rabbit to me as a little girl, but when my second child was born, somebody gave us one of those beautiful hardback children's picture books with the thick paper and the glossy, you know, drawings, pictures, paintings, whatever they are. It was gorgeous. I don't know whatever happened to it. I hope the kid did not do something really weird with it, but, you know, it is what it is. So, the story of the Velveteen Rabbit is really simple. You'll remember, or not, that it is the story of a little boy, and his name in the story was Boy. And for Christmas one year, Boy went down, and what he found in his stocking was a stuffed velveteen rabbit. Well, the day was busy. He got lots of stuff. Later in the day, people came, as they always do. More gifts, paper, you know, chaos, food, the whole thing that Christmas involves for so many of us. And, you know, the Velveteen Rabbit just kind of got set to the side. And he didn't get too much attention in the days and weeks that followed. He went to live in the toy cupboard on the nursery room floor. And here's a piece from the story. I'll just read a bit of it. For a long time, the rabbit lived in the toy cupboard or on the nursery floor, and no one thought very much about him. He was naturally shy, and being only made of velveteen, some of the more expensive toys quite snubbed him. The mechanical toys were very superior and looked down their nose upon everyone. They were full of modern ideas, and they pretended that they were real. The model boat, who had lived through 2 seasons and lost most of his paint, caught the tone from them and never missed an opportunity to refer to his rigging in technical terms. The rabbit could not claim to be a model of anything, since he did not know that real rabbits existed. He thought they were all stuffed with sawdust like himself, and he understood that sawdust was quite out of date and should never be mentioned in modern circles. Even Timothy, the jointed wooden lion made by the disabled soldiers, who should have had broader views, put on airs and pretended he was connected with government. Between them all, the poor little rabbit was made to feel himself very insignificant and commonplace, and the only person who was kind to him at all was the skin horse. Now, the skin horse had lived in the nursery longer than any of the others. He was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed the seams underneath, and most of the hairs in his tail had been pulled out to string bead necklaces. Ouch. Skin Horse knew that nursery magic was very strange and wonderful. Only those playthings that are old and wise and experienced, like the Skin Horse, understand all about it. What is real? The rabbit asked one day. Does it mean having things that buzz inside you and a stick-out handle? Real isn't how you're made, said the Skin Horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the Skin Horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt, though. And does it happen all at once? Like being wound up? Or is it bit by bit? Oh, it does not happen all at once, said the Skin Horse. You become. It takes a long time. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been rubbed off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you cannot be ugly, except to people who do not understand. Now, one night, the Velveteen Rabbit slept in the boy's bed. He grew used to being with the boy. The rabbit was very happy, so happy that he never noticed how his beautiful velveteen fur was getting shabbier and shabbier, and his tail becoming unsewn, and all the pink rubbed off his nose, where the boy liked to kiss him. So over time, the rabbit learned. He learned that how he looked, whether he had a bright coat of paint or whether he glowed in the dark, he learned that what made him real was not how he looked or how bright he was, but how he felt inside. He let go of that mindset of the nursery toys, that race consciousness all stuck up and proud. And that is what we have to do. We have to break that word down, remind ourselves that what is on the outside is never as important as that small inner voice that we hear. We have to use the wisdom of this teaching and remember that God don't make no junk. One of the contributors to this movement, one of the people that is given credit for being behind the work of Ernest Holmes, is a gentleman by the name of Judge Thomas Troward. And Troward was a colonial judge in India who studied world religions for years. And he wrote some really lofty stuff. I'm imagining Lou could read Troward. Troward starts on page 1 with a paragraph and he ends the sentence on page 9. He's beyond Barbara. Okay? Yeah, we've studied some Troward and gone, that's really lofty, nice. Let's read Ernest instead. Ernest makes it look easy. Okay? Yeah. But Troward tells us, he reminds us, my mind is a center of divine activity. And when we claim that, when we know that for ourselves, guys, we stand above and beyond that thing, that race consciousness, that mentality that is going on everywhere. We have to begin to dig for the reasons that we believe for things, and then think for ourselves about whether these beliefs are really our truths. We have to be willing to let go of beliefs when they no longer serve us. And isn't that interesting? So many years ago, I heard an analogy about that I still love. In fact, we'll demonstrate it. Take your finger and put it in your eye. Now, you don't have to do this to the point where it hurts, but, do it to where you feel it, where you have the idea of it, And it feels different, doesn't it? If you do it a little more, it doesn't feel good. It hurts. But here's the deal, guys. If you go around with your finger in your eye from now until this time tomorrow, it will be less unfamiliar to you. And by this coming Sunday, a week from today, this time, if we're sitting here at 11:35 with our fingers in our eyes still, we haven't taken them out yet. I hope you got somebody who can help you feed yourself, okay? At any rate, okay? It's going to feel normal. And if you do that for 2 or 3 or 4 months or 6 years or 25, and then you take your finger out, you've fixed the situation, haven't you? You've made it right again, but it does not feel right, does it? In fact, it feels wrong. And that's what we do. We take on that race consciousness. We own it. And we could put that word in quotes. Maybe we borrow it. Is that a better way to say it? We borrow it, and we take it on as ours for a while. And then after a while we go, excuse me, WTF. What I like is, here's this from Facebook this week. Monday, on the calendar, there's Monday and there's Tuesday, and after Tuesday, even the calendar says WTF. Okay? I know, don't you love it? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay? So we think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what is this? Doesn't feel right, okay? Doesn't feel right when we fix it, does it? No wonder changing those neuronal pathways in our brain is so weird, isn't it? So difficult sometimes. We have those places where we do great and we make great progress, and then we're like, oh my God, what is this? I'll never get over this. I'll never get through this. What we have to do is we have to remind ourselves. We have to recognize. We have to rethink, remember that each and every one of us is a point of light in God consciousness. That's what we came here to be. That's what we came here to do. It might have a career wrapped around it. It might have parenting wrapped around it. It might have all kinds of things wrapped around it, our whole lives, really, okay? But when we take all that away, what are we? We are that God consciousness. The center of that consciousness is within our own selves. It never left. It's one of those things that you didn't have a choice about, really. When you came in, you got it. You've always had it. You had it before you came in. You'll have it after you leave. What we have to do is to remind ourselves of something that Marianne Williamson reminds us of. This comes from her little book, A Return to Love. I've got a copy of it for every one of you. This is called Shine. I love it. I'll try to get through it straight-faced. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we were powerful beyond measure. That it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not? You are a child of the divine. Your playing small does nothing to serve this world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do, as that little boy did when he found his rabbit. He shined before, and he shined so brightly his rabbit shined. His rabbit became real. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, like the song says. It's in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically will liberate others. So let's just go from this place today. Can you pass this back here? Have some? And we'll give you some more here from maybe back there, and some more in that direction. How about that? So we go from this place today, guys. Let's shine, okay? You know that rabbit, the end of the story is that the rabbit, the little boy got very ill. He got ill with scarlet fever, and although he survived it, and he went on to live, they were cleaning up his bedclothes after he had gotten better. They had moved him. They wanted him away from that bedroom. They were concerned about germs, so they were moving him to a clean place, aired out and sunny and beautiful. And when they found his old rabbit, they feared that it might once again make someone sick. So out went the rabbit. He got stuffed in a sack. He got taken out, dumped beside the garden. And the gardener said, yes, I'll burn it all, but not today. I have peas to pick and potatoes to plant and yada yada. I'll come back in the morning and do it. That little rabbit managed to wiggle himself free. And he still wasn't really all the way real. But he got out and he looked around, and he was very lonely for his boy. And he cried a single tear. And from that tear, from his getting real, from his being honest and true to himself, a flower emerged. And out of that flower came a fairy. And that fairy said, don't you know that now you are real? You're free. You can be a real rabbit. And he began to move, and he began to wiggle, and he had real rabbit legs, like cat legs. Yeah, real rabbit whiskers. And he hopped off. And years later, the boy was outside playing. He was past all those stuffed animals then and into baseball or whatever they were into in that era. And he looked around and he saw 2 live rabbits. And one of them was just a brown rabbit. But the other one looked kind of funny. Underneath its brown fur, it was like it had speckles. Like maybe once before it had been different colors. And he knew, he got it, that was his rabbit. Be set free and be real. We love you. All right. What are we doing now?